Fordham with the ball, driving left to right. Niebrick gets the ball. Play action. He looks over the middle. He throws deep up the left side. Caught at the 3, and going into the end zone is Ajala for the score. From the Towson 30, Niebrick back at it, and he loses the football. I didn't expect the snap, and he jumps on it, loses it again, and it's picked up by Towson at the 47. Getting the ball is Niebrick. He drops back. He's looking with time. Fires it deep up the far side. Wide open. Ajala makes the catch for the score. Touchdown, Fordham. Wide open.
And we welcome you to our final edition of Monday Night Quarterback for the 2013 season. A lot coming up for you. Brett Beestick will be joining us along with Stephen Hodge offensively inside the huddle. We're going to have on Sam Ajala and Michael Niebrick, who had tremendous seasons for Fordham. We're also going to have David Blackwell, Fordham's defensive coordinator, joining myself, Nick LaGerfo. But first, we join Fordham football head coach Joe Moorhead for the first time here today. And, Coach, obviously a bit disappointing to fall the way you did to Towson in the FCS playoffs, but looking back at it, what can you say, if anything, you could have done differently to maybe change the result?
Well, first thing is we could have got a stop or two on defense. I mean, they had 8 possessions and scored on 7 of them. We forced them to punt 1 time, so we did a decent job, keeping Terrence West under wraps, and Vicker had an excellent game. But at the end of the day, we challenged Athens to beat us with his arm, and he did an excellent job to his credit and Towson's coaching staff's credit. Getting some one-on-one matchups downfield and converting on third downs to extend drives. So defensively, we needed to obviously do some things better to get off the field and create some punts. Offensively, we were matching them for score, and that's what we needed to do in the game. And ultimately, our demise was 2 successive drives in the third quarter where we had some uncharacteristic personal foul penalties and a turnover that moved us out of range in both occasions. So, once it became a 14, 21-point game, we kept fighting to the last play. But against a great team like that, it's going to be too much to overcome.
Hey, you talked about it offensively. You guys had 4 touchdowns, a pretty good offensive day. Not quite where we're used to seeing this team score. Were you guys facing any challenges against this Towson defense? Were there anything that they were doing that was slowing you guys down?
No, I mean, we had a difficult time getting the running game going. And, I mean, we talked about it prior to the game. They're big, strong, and athletic up front and, bring a bunch of, different line stunts and different movements. So, but, we were able to move the ball passing. And, you look at the drives that stalled, the 2 with penalties, we were down to the 10 and 15-yard line, and we ended the game on the 5-yard line. So, and we missed 2 field goals. So, I mean, it certainly wasn't an output day from a scoring standpoint that we liked. And we moved the ball. I would have liked to have run it better. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's 3-0 or 63-62. You got to find a way to win the game.
Now, Coach, let's go back to maybe what could have been the turning point in this game in the first half. It seemed like Towson had maybe gotten out to a lead in that second quarter where they've been so good, and it looked like maybe you guys would struggle to get back in it. But you got a roughing the punter penalty. You go down, you drive, and you score. And then later you get this muff punt. Take me through what you're thinking when you find out you're getting the ball back at the 47 of Towson with a chance to go down and try and tie the game.
Yeah, it was a great momentum swing. So you see here that we're backed up and punting it. Joey does a good job, knocking it out of there to around the 50-yard line. And, this kid had muff 2 or 3 coming up into this game. So we were aware of that. Our guys did a great job covering down the field and getting around the ball and, very opportunistic to jump on it when, he let it get out of his hand. So it was a great momentum shift, and I believe we took that down and turned it into points. So, special teams the third of the game and did a good job giving us 2 additional possessions in the first half.
And on that drive, it was 21-14 when you guys got the ball back. And a critical play on that drive is a touchdown to Sam Ajala, 4th and 13. And when you guys came into that play, you guys were sort of in no man's land between kicking a field goal and potentially going for it on 4th and 13. What was your mindset in going for it on that 4th and 13 call?
We were a little bit out of field goal range, and I'm not so sure what a punt would have done in terms of changing the field position, and we were having a difficult time stopping them as it was. And I'm sure when you talk to Michael and Sam, they'll tell you that there was a little bit of improvisational action going on their part on that play. But it's just as we went for the 4th and 6 earlier in the half that, we didn't come all that way to play it close. We were going to call the game to win, and fortunately that time it worked out in our favor.
So you guys end up getting a tie game. You're kicking off near the end of the first half, and we thought maybe this was planned, but it was a squib kick that went off the back of one of the Towson players. Yeah. Is there any plan on McKay Red's part to try and drill that ball at him? And get the turnover, and then what does it mean to not get the field goal there at the end of the half to take the lead?
No, zero plan. I mean, we did have a planned surprise onside later in the fourth quarter that we didn't get, but we were just trying to keep it on the ground and not give them an opportunity to move the field and score right there before the end of the half. But we were very fortunate to hit the kid in the back, and we recovered it and did a good job. And then I think it was less than a minute driving down and getting into field goal range, and unfortunately we weren't able to knock it through to go into the half with a lead.
So you guys are tied at halftime, 21-21. Towson was obviously a second-half team throughout the course of this season. What do you tell your guys at halftime to prepare them against this Towson team who is so good in the second half?
Same thing we told them about going into the game. That we were going to have to, for 30 minutes it was a tie game, and we were going to have to, give great effort and execute our scheme. And I don't want to diminish that. I mean, you have to tip your hat to Towson and give them all the credit that's due. I mean, they're a very well-coached team. Coach Ambrose does an excellent job, and obviously, they've got a tremendous amount of talent on both sides of the ball. So, they came out and, out-coached us and outplayed us, and they earned a win. But, we certainly didn't help ourselves with some of the things we did. And like I said, the margin of error in this game was going to be much smaller than Sacred Heart, and we said that throughout the week, and we didn't do enough to overcome that margin of error in the second half. Consequently, lost the game.
Coach, finally, let's take a look at maybe two drives in the second half that maybe played a key role in the final outcome. Penalties were a bit of a struggle there at the end, and that's maybe something where you can control the controllable, like you said. Looking back at that, how difficult is it to maybe see the game get out of reach in a situation like that where really you guys probably could have done something to maybe adjust that, especially a personal foul for, back talking to the referee?
Yeah, the first drive, they came out and scored, and we were going down to tie the game, and we had a cut block on Brian Wetzel. I'm not sure what the situation. No, the first one was when Mason Halter had a late hit penalty, after the whistle had blown, and then we muffed the snap. So that was the first one, and then we had an illegal cut block, and then Michael, voiced his opinion to the referee. But in either case, you often hear me talk about two types of penalties. Ones that are a product of the game, and ones are the ones you control, and those are the ones that are within our control and that you hadn't seen a ton of during the year. I don't know that we had 5 personal fouls or penalties like that during the season, but it came back. It did. It came back to bite us because one of them we could have tied the game, and the other one we could have brought it back within 7. So it's unacceptable. It's been addressed, and I don't anticipate it'll be a problem moving forward.
All right, well, Coach, we'll talk about what the team's going to be doing moving forward, what you're going to be doing moving forward coming up later on in the show. But first, time to talk X's and O's with Fordham defensive coordinator David Blackwell here on Monday Night Quarterback. And, Coach, when you look back at the season that was, really you guys forced a ton of turnovers. You guys did a lot of things well, but in this last game you didn't get any turnovers defensively, and it seemed like you guys struggled to get Towson off the field. What do you look back at as maybe being the biggest struggle in that game?
Well, I think you hit it, is the inability to get off the field on third downs. We were pretty proficient at getting them in the third down situations. When a team converts 8 of 12 third and fourth downs, obviously you've got an issue getting off the field. And they weren't third and shorts. A lot of them were third and long situations where we let them off the hook and we're not able to get off the field. That's one thing we've done a good job of all season, and creating turnovers. We didn't get any on defense for the game. And then getting off the field on third down with pressures and tight coverage, and our inability to do that was a big difference in the game.
And, Coach, obviously coming into the game, one of the biggest concerns defensively was the fact that you were facing a Walter Payton Award finalist in Terrence West, the running back for Towson, comes in averaging 155 yards a game. But you guys were able to keep him relatively in check. What were you guys able to do to mostly contain Terrence West?
Well, I mean, we made a commitment to stopping the run and feeling that the best opportunity for us to be successful in that game was to not let the running game get going. So we committed a lot of bodies to the run game and put a lot of pressure on our back end in coverage. And, we're kind of daring them to throw the football throughout the game, and they were able to capitalize on that a little bit with a couple of big passes.
Well, when you look at the passing game, really Peter Athens was as efficient as you can possibly get, and he was very efficient with the deep ball. But I want to look back at a 3rd and 8 play. I believe it was early in the second half where he got a screen pass off right off the fingertip of Brett Biestick, and it seemed like that was a bit of a backbreaker because the next play they went through a 40-plus yard touchdown pass up the right sideline. So Take me back to that drive, and was that really crushing for the defense?
It was. The first drive coming out from halftime, and, we got them into a third down, and I think it was a 3rd and 11, actually. Had a tackle for loss on first down, and got them in a 3rd and long situation. We were in a weak side pressure. Right at the last second, I tried to put a screen alert on it, thinking that it could possibly be a screen, and DeAndre Slate felt it, and it slipped and fell down. And then Brett was just, he almost tipped the ball. And, he was able to get loose on a screen that I think was a huge momentum turn to start the second half. We have done a good job coming out of the locker room on defense throughout the season and generating excitement for our offense and kind of energizing them. And I think this is a game where we had an opportunity to do that. Had we gotten a stop right there, I think it could have energized our offense and maybe could have changed the outcome of that football game.
And you talk about Peter Athens having a really good game, 13 for 15. Coming into this game, did you know that he was capable of doing something like that, or was he rather inconsistent? You wanted to take your chances against Peter Athens, but did you think that he would have that type of game?
No, absolutely. You don't think anyone will ever be that accurate against you. But honestly, coming into the game, he had thrown more interceptions than touchdowns. He was barely a 50% thrower on the season. And so we felt very comfortable. Their top 2 receivers were out. And so game plan-wise, we made our game plan was a Terrence West game plan. We were going to stop the run. We were going to force them to beat us throwing the football, and unfortunately they were able to do that. And we didn't do a good job as the game went. When we had the run game under control a little bit, we didn't do as good a job adjusting coverage-wise to help ourselves in the back end, and obviously that ultimately falls to me.
Well, and Coach, perhaps it's a little bit ironic that your run defense really gave up over 200 yards a game as the year went on, but in this final game you finally got it figured out, but the pass defense was the thing that maybe let you down a little bit, and Peter Athens played so well. But for you guys to maybe get that run defense fixed against the best running back in FCS, I mean, what did that mean to you to maybe fix that you maybe struggled with so much?
Well, I think it's kind of the big fix was really not giving up explosive plays in the run game. And when you look at us throughout the season, St. Francis obviously had one of the top running backs in the country. He had a big day against us. The majority, 85 to 90% of his yards came on 3 plays. You bottled him up really the rest of the game. Last week against St. Francis, it was really kind of the same thing. The running back, he had 2 explosive runs. He had over 115 yards on 2 plays, and ended up with 190 for the game. So the rest of the game he had 70 yards and got 120 on 2 plays. So, I think it was the ability to not give up the explosive play. We had capped the runoff pretty good all year. It was more of letting an explosive play get out that would stunt your stats a little bit. And we were able to contain that in that game and keep from giving up the explosive play. But unfortunately, we gave up too many explosive pass plays, and we weren't able to get off the field on 3rd down.
So overall defensively, what do you take away from a game like Towson, where your defense was hanging in there, kept your team in the game? What do you take away from that performance heading into the offseason?
Well, I think that you take away from it, from our standpoint, is what could have been. Because defensively, if we get, 2 of those drives where it's 3rd down and 10 and we let them convert, if you get 2 stops right there, it's a 14-point swing in that game. And so then you're looking at a 35-28 game with our offense with the opportunity to go win the game for us. And so I think you look at it really comes down to our inability to get off the field on 3rd downs and giving our offense at-bats. If we give our offense more opportunities, then I think we have a chance to win that football game. I think you come out of it going into the offseason going, we're not far off. That's a top 5 team in the country. We're every bit. I mean, there's no question in my mind that we can play with and beat that football team. We can't. We needed to play well, and obviously we didn't play well enough defensively to win that football game. But I think coming out of it, everyone on our football team knows that we had an opportunity to win that football game, and we let it slip away.
Coach, finally, when you look at the players that you bring back, I mean, guys, Brett Biestick, DeAndre Slate, Stephen Hodge, Austin Hancock, you look at the defensive line, the entire secondary is back, the linebacking core brings DeFusco in to maybe replace Jake Rodriguez. You guys bring back the majority of your defense. How exciting is that for you?
I think it's very exciting. We bring back, in reality, Nick Marino started the majority of the year at defensive end. Brett, obviously, is a returning starter at defensive end. DeAndre's back. Alex Washington started the majority of the season at nose guard. He's back. 2 of the 3 linebackers are back. DeFusco started against Villanova and played very well and played a lot of football throughout the season. The entire secondary's back. So, we've got 10 starters back that were at least part-time starters and 9 really full-time starters back. So I think that there's a lot to build on. I think that from our first season here to this year, we made a big jump. We've improved dramatically in the last 2 years defensively, and we made a big jump this year. If we can make that same kind of jump next year, then I think we'll compete for a national championship. That's what it's going to take for us to compete for a national championship. We've got to make 28 points stand up. If our offense scores 28 points, we've got to be good enough defensively to make 28 points stand up in playoffs and against good teams. And we don't need to be able to have to go out and outscore everybody. And for us we need to make the same kind of jump we did this year. We finished the regular season 36 in the nation scoring defense. If we can jump into the top 20 in the nation, things like that, then that's how you take the next step.
All right, well, Coach, hopefully we'll get to see that step being made next year with a lot of players coming back, and hopefully you'll be back with us too. Thanks so much for all your help this season.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
And now we move inside the huddle with quarterback Michael Niebrick and linebacker Stephen Hodge. And Michael, we'll start with you first. You guys had a standout performance against Sacred Heart, your first playoff game at Rose Hill. You guys ended up winning that game. What was it like for you heading into Towson, round 2 of the FCS playoffs?
Obviously, that first round we kind of got all the nerves out, so it was good for the offensive unit to have that game going into Towson. Going in, we had a decent week of practice. Wasn't our best week, so but we went into Saturday confident, and things just didn't work out for us.
And now, Stephen, as we turn to you here, defensively coming into this game against Towson, obviously the big concern is Terrence West, the Walter Payton Award finalist. You guys really had a tough concern to contain him from getting tough yardage. And what were you guys able to do heading into this game to contain Terrence West?
We played a lot more men to the box. We played a lot of eagle fronts, which is a few linebackers on the line of scrimmage. But, we contained him for the most part. It was a third down that really killed us for most of the day.
And now, in the beginning drive of this game, you guys come on the field for the first time. You end up, it's a filling out process, essentially, against Towson. What were you guys going through on the first drive of this game? They end up scoring a touchdown. But take us through that first drive. What was it like for you against Towson the first drive of this game?
Well, Coach Moorhead kept saying, don't be surprised by the speed of the game. And, Towson was a real fast team, I think maybe even faster than Temple. And they had a real quick snap cadence, which kind of threw us off a little bit. But as the game went on, it kind of got our reins and controlled them a little more.
Okay, now, Michael, we turn back to you here. You guys are down 7-0 after not doing much offensively on the first drive of the game. You guys really have to answer the call and to tie this game up. And we're going to talk about a play here to Jorge Solano, and we're actually going to pull it up here, and you can talk us through what you see on this play here.
Basically, it's a route that we put in for the Towson game. It's actually designed for Brian to get it over the middle, but the guy that was playing Bam, he just kind of fell off and left him, open in the corner of the end zone, and I found him.
And now you guys gained a lot of momentum from this. Did you guys feel a little bit more confident getting those jitters out on the first drive after that touchdown?
Yeah, I think so. Just based on the fact that we were moving the ball, that second drive, we found some different things that were working against the defensive coverages that they were giving us, and we needed that drive to kind of establish momentum and keep things going.
Now we turn back to Stephen. You guys played well throughout the first half. You end up giving up 21 points, but overall, how do you think you guys played in the first half?
We played all right. We started pretty slow, which kind of hurt us, but the offense picked us up a little bit by scoring points and getting some of the momentum back. But we didn't force any turnovers on defense, which was pretty upsetting because we led the nation in turnovers this year. I guess what really killed us was third down. They were I think 9 for 11 on third down, which that's not acceptable.
Okay, so you guys are tied 21-21 at halftime. You end up falling behind a little bit in the second half, but you guys are driving. And actually, I thought this was a huge turning point in the game. You guys have a bad snap. It was a miscommunication between you and Joe Mazzara. Why don't you take us through what happens on that play?
Well, basically, we just had kind of a double check going on. I tried to make a protection call, but the O-line kind of looked back to me and told me what they were doing. And, when I looked over to the sideline, obviously there was, some crowd noise going on. And when I looked over to the sideline, Joe, I guess, thought he heard me say set go, but, obviously I didn't. I was looking away. So, I think that was a big turning point in the game, and it kind of, really gave a lot of momentum to Towson and kind of, was really the key factor in how the third quarter went.
Definitely. And there's one last play that we'd like to talk to you about, and that's obviously towards the end of this game, in the fourth quarter. You guys are driving down the field, and you end up finding Brian Wetzel in the end zone. Very courageous play, as Matt Rosenfeld will say. Why don't you take us through that play?
Well, basically, it was just, a deep corner for him. We saw the man coverage, so we checked to the play. It really wasn't something that we worked on all week, but Brian's, he's proved how savvy of a player he is all week, and he kind of changed the route, midway through the play. And, once he made that post cut, I just kind of saw that there was nobody left in the middle, and I just kind of threw it up and gave it to him.
All right, definitely. And you guys end up finishing the day with 28 points. You guys, unfortunately, don't get the win in this game against Towson, but nothing to be too ashamed of. You guys have a great season, finishing the year at 12-2. What are your final thoughts on the season? I'll start with you, Steven.
Defensively, we return, I think, 10 of 11 starters. And, Jake's going to be a tough asset to replace, but Victor's going to do an awesome job and step in, and I think we'll be just as good next year.
All right, and turning over to you, Michael, what are your final thoughts on this year?
I think it was a great year for us. Obviously we came out of nowhere, in a lot of people's minds, and I think we really put the Fordham football program on the map nationally. And like Steven said, that we got a lot of kids coming back next year, offensively and defensively, and we're really excited to get going in the spring and see what we can do for next year.
Well, there you have it. That's for Inside the Huddle with Michael Niebrick and Stephen Hodge.
Now we go inside the huddle with a couple of players that either already are All-Americans or are likely to be All-Americans by the time it's said and done. We have academic All-American defensive end Brett Biestick and wide receiver Sam Ajala, who after the year you had, it's really, when you look back at it, the stats, the numbers, but really the importance of the touchdowns you actually scored. What would it mean to you to be named an All-American at the end of this campaign?
It'd be an honor, of course. You always work to get the highest accolade, and that'd be one that I'd be proud of.
For you as a member of this team to go 12-2 and have the season that you did, how much did it mean for you to get all these yards and the touchdowns, but for it all to mean so much in the grand scheme of things?
That's the best thing. Just know that you're winning every week, and you doing good is helping your team win, and the accolades coming along with it is just a plus.
Yeah, well, Sam, certainly a very good season for you. And Brett, really on the field, it was very easy to see all the things that you did well. But off the field, for you to be named an academic All-American, how important is that for you in terms of moving forward? I assume that's a tremendous honor.
Oh, it really is. We don't really care as much about individual honors as much as team honors. But off the field, being able to be recognized for those hours I spent studying and getting good grades it means a lot to me.
So for you in this game, let's look back at the Towson defeat. And for you, the running attack for Towson was so highly billed, and really the run defense for you guys had allowed over 200 yards a game, but you guys did a very good job of stopping Terrence West all game. How can you attribute that?
We had a great game plan coming in. Coach Blackwell put us in a good position to succeed in every play. And we had a lot of their runs, we had them locked up, and we had a missed tackle, which kind of hurt us, knowing that we were in position to make plays just about every time.
Well, and the longest run that you guys allowed in this game was only 22 yards, and it was to the backup, Darius Victor. But you guys held Terrence West, who averaged over 150 yards a game, to just about 60 or 70 yards. So for you guys, what do you think maybe you did specifically that maybe kept Terrence West from having such a great game and to really prevent the long running plays?
We just were staying in our gaps. We were very fundamentally sound. We made sure we stayed where we were supposed to be, so it kind of eliminated holes for him to run through. And the linebackers made great plays coming over the top and filling the gaps that were left over and able to stop them. And Terrence West is a great running back, and the freshman Victor is going to be a very good running back in the years to come.
Now, Brett, we talked a little bit about the run defense, but even the pass defense, it was good for much of the year, mainly because you guys brought so much pressure. What was Towson doing specifically that kept you guys from getting as much pressure on Peter Athens as maybe you've gotten on other quarterbacks that you've seen this year?
I mean, we played a lot of 8-9 man fronts. We were focused. Our main focus was going into the game was to stop the run, and for the most part, we did do that. But the quarterback was able to complete a lot of passes, which it hurts. We were in a man coverage. We were leaving our cornerbacks on an island a lot of the time, but we weren't able to get the pressure up front, and we weren't able to cover on the back end, so they were able to complete the passes they needed to.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and talk to someone who, in the passing game, made explosive plays, certainly for Fordham in this game. And let's take a look at this first play. Fordham's down 21-7, and you catch a deep ball up the left side. What did this mean in the context of the game for you to come in and get this touchdown?
We never thought we were out of it. I mean, we just called the play, and we caught them in the right coverage. They rolled the corner over the other seam route over to Bucky, and he was just in the wrong position, and I was wide open.
So 13 touchdowns, that's a Fordham record. You break the Fordham single-season receiving record and the Patriot League single-season receiving record in this game. And in terms of records, did you ever imagine that you could do things like that, especially in a playoff run and what it all meant? I
never really thought about it because, during the season you're not really counting them. After a while, people are telling you that you're getting close, but you just go out there every game to give it your best, and the results just were in my favor this year.
Now let's go ahead and look forward to another play right at the end of the half, and this was a bit of an improv on your part. Bring me through what you're doing on the backside of this that allows you to get so open.
We knew it was 4th and long, and after watching film on Towson, I knew the corners were a little greedy, so I just made a move at the first down stick, and he took one false step, and touchdown Fordham.
So in terms of this game offensively, you guys really went punch for punch with Towson in the first half. What maybe didn't go so well in the second half that maybe held you guys back?
A lot of miscues, penalties. They killed us. They were in game. They hurt us in games previously, but we were able to bounce back from them. But against this team, we couldn't do it, and the penalties got the best of us this week.
Well, let's go back and talk about a couple of maybe your finest moments for really both of you guys. And, Brett, let's start with you. If you could talk about one specific moment that you look back on this year, and luckily you get one more year to come back, but what maybe stands out to you?
For me, being able to go to the playoffs with all these guys that I came in with, and even the second-round game was a great moment. For my number one moment would have to be my senior day. I got to see my mom and my brother, who's a college football player at Brown. He was able to come up that week. It was his bye weeks, and I got to stand with him for my senior day, and that really was the highlight of my season.
All right, well, Brett, certainly a good season for you. And Sam, when you look back at this year, is there any moment you can pinpoint as maybe your finest moment?
Individually, of course, I have to say that the Temple catch was really special. I check that picture out every once in a while, or I have
every day.
No, not every day, not every day. I have friends though that send it to me every once in a while. So that was a big moment for me. But just this team-wise, Wetzel going over 1,000, making it 3 1,000-yard receivers was really big, and just knowing that we had all those weapons on this team, and we lost Kuntz, but we got 4 out of the 5 coming back.
All right, well, guys, I know you have one more thing that you want to do here. I'll allow Sam, if you want to step in here and just do the handshake you've been waiting to do with Brett. You guys got it. You still got it. Joe Moorhead is coming up next. And now we sit down with Fordham football head coach Joe Moorhead for one last time on Monday Night Quarterback here this year. And Coach, let's take a look back on the season that was, because it really was an excellent one. And before we even talk about the season, you sort of talked about it. We can either choose to mourn the season that was, or we can celebrate it. And it seems like your team has really taken to that and tried to remember how good this 12-2 season really was.
Yeah, it was certainly historical and a special season, and the guys deserve all the rewards that they're getting individually and as a team. But that the loss of Towson is certainly a bitter pill to swallow, and especially when you just look at the brackets now, and there's only 8 teams left in the country playing, and we were 2 steps away from getting into the championship game. So it should sting, it should hurt, and then certainly we're going to utilize it as motivation for next year's team moving forward. But at the same time, it shouldn't diminish the accomplishments of this team. It'll go down as, one of the best in the storied history of this program, and the kids earned it, and we're very proud of them.
And you talk about it being a difficult loss to Towson, but what are the things that you take away from a game like that into the offseason to prepare you guys for next year?
Number one, the Towson's an excellent team, and we did enough to get to that point. And what are the things that we're going to have to do to get past that point? And like I said, the margin of error in that game was very small. We didn't do enough to overcome it, but we've got a ton of guys coming back. We've got a lot of experience, and now it's not going to be enough just to get to that position. It's going to be a matter of us trying to win that game.
Now, Coach, I mentioned it on the air, but if you look at the depth chart, some players are mentioned twice. Brian Wetzler, receiver and a punt returner. But in total, 51 of the named players on the two deep are coming back next year. So for you as a coach, what does that mean for a program like this to get another year with the offense, another year with the defense, and bring in more recruits that maybe will up the talent level even more?
It's certainly very positive. We, to return 18 to 22 starters or 19, depending on how you look on it, that's very positive. But in our team meeting yesterday, we basically said that, the 2013 season ended the second we got on the bus. And now we're going to be moving forward to the 2014 season, and the things that happened last year aren't going to have any bearing on what happens in the upcoming season. So they can feel, complacent and entitled, or they can be hungry to finish the business that we weren't able to do against Towson. And I'm fairly certain it'll be the latter.
Well, we had Coach Carey on last week, and we talked to him about recruiting and how important that is for you. Now that it's the off season, how many hours are you looking forward to recruiting and getting out there, and what's that going to be like for you?
No, essentially it'll be the next 2 weeks. We'll be on the road, starting today and going through next week, and we'll have some official visits starting at the middle of January. And it's like any other thing. We're going to look for great student athletes who are a great fit for our program, and can help us win a Patriot League championship and compete for a national title.
Coach, one of the storylines that really kind of went unnoticed for much of the year is Dan Light, and what a great season he had, especially with his father passing away. And the whole team went up there, and a couple players have told me that was really a moment where the team came together, and it played a major role in the season. So looking back on that and looking at what Dan Light did in light of all of this, what can you say about him as a player and what it meant for the team to come together at that point in time?
Although he doesn't wear the C or he's not a captain, Danny Light's an unquestioned leader on this team through his words. While sometimes there's not many of them, but they're effective, and through his play and through his actions. And I'm not sure there's a guy on this team that garners more respect than Dan Light does. And it's great to have him for another year, particularly coming off of the 2 seasons that he's had. But I know Danny and his father were very close, and it was a very emotional time for the family and for the team. And I know Dan's mom and his family have been to almost all the games, if not all of them. And I just thought it was a great sign of support for Dan and his family for his football family to support him in a time of need like that.
Well, let's talk about this senior class. Carlton Kuntz, Jake Rodriguez, among 2 of the guys that are part of the senior class. A class that went 1-10 2 years ago, really on the forefront of this rebuild here at Fordham. What do you think the lasting memory of this senior class will be?
Yeah, the lasting memory will be that, it was a small group, but they packed a punch. And, in a 2 years' time, they've continued to raise the bar and the expectation level of what we want this program to be. And, for Carlton and Jake and the rest of the guys in this class, they've set the bar for the 2014 team, and it's very high. And that's something that they can take with them forever, and they should be very proud of.
Coach, we'll close with 2 final questions, and the first is more about your future and the future of your coaching staff at Fordham. Another year where you're a finalist or a high candidate for the Eddie Robinson Award FCS Coach of the Year. You pilot the team to the best record it's had really in the modern era. So for you, what is it that you see in your future, whether it's at Fordham or elsewhere, and what can you maybe say to thoughts that maybe would go elsewhere at this point in time?
I think it's, number one, it's the fact that you're garnering interest from other schools and they're interested in you. It's very flattering, but at the same time, it's because of what your kids and your coaching staff and the university and the support system have done for you. So, I'm very happy here at Fordham. Mr. Roach,
Niebrick checks the sideline, takes, drops back with time, evades the rush, runs up the near side, looks, he's going to throw it deep, in for Ajawa, caught, touchdown! 4 seconds left, Ajawa. The snap is back, the ball is down, it's blocked! It's blocked and recovered by Fordham, the game is over! The most unbelievable finish has occurred at Jack Coffey. Fordham wins.
Wetzel Jones split to the left, Ajawa to the right. He gets the snap, he drops, he's looking over the middle of the field, throws it deep for Ajawa, back of the end zone. He is in for the touchdown with 1 foot. What a catch by Ajawa for the score.